What the fuck are you doing?
Tied up by Green. Throws it back up top. James puts up the three. Oh, it's good! LeBron James from downtown.
Hey guys, welcome back to 3 Guys on Mic. I'm Aaron, joined by the man himself, William. Today is the last part of our 4-part series, the divisional predictions, and this time we're going with the West. But first, before we start, I want to say thank you for all the shout-outs, all the new subscribers, all the posts, all the messages. We really appreciate it. We're getting into it. We're just gonna go just like the last videos, 4-1.
So we're starting off with the NFC West, right?
NFC West.
Okay. This is for our editor Patrick. I know he's gonna enjoy editing this one. But fourth in the NFC West, I have the San Francisco 49ers. Okay. But let me start off by saying this. Every team in this division is not going to be bad at all. They're all going to be good. I think they're either going to be an above average team or a really good team. The 49ers obviously 2 years moved from a Super Bowl loss to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And it was certainly a winnable game, a phenomenal season. And a lot of people said that they went through a Super Bowl slump. By definition, that is true. They did not have the same season by any means as their Super Bowl run. But a Super Bowl slump could mean many things, right? 2017 Eagles won the Super Bowl. Next year had a Super Bowl slump. That was mostly, some of it was due to injuries, but a lot of it was due to inconsistency from the quarterback, from the coaching, a lot of things. The locker room was just in shambles. But this team still would have been a good team last year. Just that every single position on the roster, anyone you look at was injured. Jimmy G, George Kittle, Richard Sherman, everybody was injured.
Mostert for a while.
Mostert for a long time. Nick Bosa was injured. Like, there's a lot of things that went into this team, and I felt really bad. And this team really just had bad luck last year. I think this season is all about getting Jimmy G one last shot. And again, we know that, or we kind of assume that he's going to be the starter going forward, right?
Kind of like a Danny Dimes situation in New York.
Yeah, pretty much like that. I think that Trey Lance is going to get snaps this year. I think he's going to have a lot of playing time. But you still got to give it to Jimmy G. Although he's been injured, he still is a phenomenal leader and has a lot of wins under his belt. This division is jam-packed, and I think the Niners are too much of a wild card. When you look at it, we have to bank on them returning and going back to that defense that they had 2 years ago. And that's a lot to ask for, especially when everyone's coming off of major injuries. But I still think that this team could put it together and be in the hunt, and potentially all 4 of these teams in this division could be in the playoffs.
Everyone calls them the NFC best for a reason. Number 4, this might come as a surprise to a lot of people, I have the Seattle Seahawks. I think this is Russell Wilson's last straw with Seattle. They didn't get him any help for the offensive line. As we all know, he's been the most sacked quarterback ever since he's entered the league. Yes, he has 2 star-studded receivers, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. And this defense is really good on paper. It just didn't show last year. But to me, I feel like with this defense, it's gonna be the opposite. I feel like they're gonna be the load to lean on with this next season.
And why is that?
Because I feel like with the way they performed last year, all the points they gave up, all the yards, it just has to all rely on them.
Okay,
I get what I feel about Russ.
So you think that the offense is gonna be the one to tail off?
Basically, they didn't. Well, I mean, if you look at their offensive line. No disrespect to the center.
Yeah.
But we all know what happened with him. I'm not even going to mention that. All these free agents they have out there, they didn't sign no one. David DeCastro is standing there at 31 years old. Still in his prime, I think. Pro Bowl guard. They didn't get him.
I agree with you. I do think that they should have made a lot more moves and that this was bad on their part. But again, they had the same problem last year and the year before. And we're still a very good team.
Yeah, but now they have an improved Rams, an improved Cardinals, and the 49ers at full strength. I don't see them being better than any of those 3 teams this year.
You don't see. Okay. You don't finish what you say. Go ahead.
That's all I have to say. I don't see them potentially being better than any of those 3.
Okay, we'll go back to this. After
just like with the Cincinnati take.
Yeah, we'll go back to
it. Go back to it.
All right.
The end of the season. Patrick O'Connor knows.
I'm saying we'll go back to this once I have the Seahawks.
Oh, okay.
My number 3 team is the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals were in the hunt last year for the playoffs, and they eventually fell short. Last year was a really good year for them in the beginning half, but again, they started losing a lot of games in the tail end of the season. And if you look at it, they added 2 new players that I think were really looking to have bounce back years in James Conner and AJ Green. AJ Green had that pretty much horrible season last year. As we remember the play against Baltimore.
He laughs at that play every single time.
Pressure, and he threw it, and it got picked midfield. Grabbed by Marcus.
Like, that's just one thing that stands out about the season, you know what I mean? And James Conner, who didn't have a phenomenal year by any means and was known as like the weakest link on that team. But yeah, and another year of Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury. There we go. Of them together. Last year, Kyler Murray had nearly 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 819 rushing yards, and 11 rushing touchdowns. Had a phenomenal year, crazy fantasy year, was in the mix for MVP midway through the season, and even got more recognition towards the end of the season.
And then the injury.
Yeah, then the injury. So I think that he's going to have another phenomenal year, and DeAndre Hopkins is back again. As you know, he had those comments about the vaccine, about how he was pretty much required to get the vaccine. He was upset about it, right? But I think all that is in the past. I think he's going to push forward, and he knows that the season's right around the corner. He's going to leave all that behind, and he's going to have another phenomenal year. And the reason why I have them over the 49ers is because I know what I'm going to get with them pretty much. The Niners, you still have to just hope that they're that team that they were 2 years ago. So go ahead. Who's your number 3?
All right, number 3, I have the 49ers.
Okay.
Surprise, surprise. 49ers defense, I feel like, will be very altering because of the departure of Robert Saleh taking the head coach job in New York. I get all their health, all of them are coming back healthy. I get that, absolutely do. But I feel like Robert Saleh was the one to give him that spark. I feel like he was the one who got them most of the stops because they didn't really look all that. When he was down, when he was out of it, they were out of it. No one was there to step up and take the lead and tell their defense, we need to stop, we need this right now. But I feel like this year that's Fred Warner. But I just feel like it's gonna take maybe another year for him to be, that type of leader, especially because they still have Nick Bosa. I still think he's the leader of this team.
Okay. With Fred Warner, I think this year, that's a good point. I think this year is going to be a year where he's going to have to take over that leadership role. Where you laughing?
Robert Saleh, I don't know why. Every time they show him on the TV, I laugh. Alright, moving on. And then another thing with this team offensively, I think at some point we see Trey Lance.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you said Jimmy G is a phenomenal quarterback. He has a lot of wins under his belt. La-di-da-di-da. I still don't think it's the future with this team. This is the last straw, too. Like, that's what you're saying, right? You think that this is one last dance, basically? But yeah, with Trey Lance, they still have Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. A really good young group to build off of. Trey Sermon, they drafted out of Ohio State. At some point, I see them all playing together. But that's the reason I have it at number 3. Because I think that with all that quarterback drama going on, I don't see them making it far.
Okay, let me ask you. Who do you think should be starting now? And who do you think should be starting at the end of the year?
Jimmy G now.
And at the end of the year?
And then you see how let it
play out?
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I think this year, once they drafted Trey Lance, I thought this was the year to just get him situated. But now
I thought Jimmy G was gone on draft night.
Yeah, but now that I'm thinking about it, they're still in a good chance to make the playoffs and to potentially win a Super Bowl. Again, I'm not saying it's like a small chance, like a 5% chance. But I still think that they're in that mix because of their defense.
Listen, hear me out. I think out of that division, those 4 teams, I think them and the Rams have the best chance.
I think all 4 of those teams. Well, I mean, I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I think all 4 of those teams are potentially. If you get into the playoffs, you have a chance to make a run. I'm just saying that.
It's just when I look at those teams' rosters, I feel like the 49ers and the Rams match up better with anybody in the NFC.
Okay,
than
that
those
makes
two
sense.
teams.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I do think that you got to give Jimmy G a fair shot before you put in Trey Lance. And I agree with Little Man that I think there's too much it's too unstable in that quarterback room. You're worrying too much about who's going to be your starter instead of just focusing on the game. So I think that's going to hinder them as well. Yeah, go on about your second team.
Number 2, the Arizona Cardinals. This team on offense has AJ Green, James Conner to duel with Chase Edmonds. This offense can work in a variety of ways, and I think that's what makes them so dangerous. I think that's what makes them potentially a top 5 offense this year, considering all the weapons they have. And on the defensive side of the ball, they get Malcolm Butler, who I think still has some spice to his game, to replace Pat Pete. They draft Xavier Collins out of Tulsa, a linebacker who can really do it all. And I like that they paired him up with Isaiah Simmons. But the biggest thing of all, and the highest expectations of this team, is with their D-line. And Chandler Jones and JJ Watt. If those 2 are healthy the whole year, they have the potential to be the most unstoppable duo.
That's true.
I think they match up almost as close as Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett.
God, are you done?
Yeah, I'm done on number 2.
Okay, I like your Cardinals take. I do think they're going to be a phenomenal team. I'm not mad at any placement of those 4 teams except for the Seahawks being last. That's the only one that's like, what? How the Seahawks?
All because you have some little thing.
I don't have some
for Russell Wilson.
I don't have anything for Russell Wilson. But number 2, I have the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks have been a playoff lock for the past decade, pretty much. They've been phenomenal. Even last year, when, as Little Man was saying, they have offensive line issues. They haven't addressed the offensive line. They had a horrible draft, only having 3 draft picks. Not really making that many moves until as of late with their defense in free agency. Russell Wilson still hasn't gotten his wish, right? Complaining to the management and saying that he wants a revamped offensive line, right? Even with all those problems going on, the Seahawks have still been a really good team. Russell Wilson has gotten sacked 394 times in his career. 394 times in his career, and he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. A top 3 quarterback. And again, he always gets off to really hot starts. Even when Russell Wilson tails off at the end, they're still a better team than both of the other teams in the division. They're still a better team than the Cardinals, still a better team than the Niners.
So when the Niners are on top of the standings, I want everybody to save this video now while you're watching and come back to it. And just spam it at William.
Listen, I know Jeremiah's in college, but you don't have to take over the insanely dumb takes.
How's that a bad take? The 49ers come back healthy this year.
So you think the Niners are going to be over the Seahawks?
Yes.
Let's go on with the number 1 team.
This seems to happen a lot.
What?
We have the same number 1 team.
Anyways, we're going to go with the Rams. Los Angeles Rams have been a phenomenal team ever since Sean McVay has pretty much arrived.
You said the Cardinals and the Rams are phenomenal teams, and you think the Seahawks are going to be better than them?
Yeah.
Than the Cardinals?
Yeah, they're really good teams, but so are the Seahawks. I just think that the Rams have been a really good team ever since Sean McVay has arrived. Again, they have added something to the offense that they've never really had. Having Jared Goff as their quarterback, right? He's been a really good game manager. He can roll outside the pocket. But one thing that he can't really do as well as Matthew Stafford is extend the play and make phenomenal out-of-this-world plays and throws that we've never really seen before. And again, Matthew Stafford has been really good his entire career, but he's in a horrible market in Detroit, and he just doesn't get media attention like that. He makes phenomenal throws that other quarterbacks do, but he doesn't get the attention like that. So I think adding him, not only, and again, people make the argument that he's never been on a winning team, which doesn't make sense because he's been in the playoffs before. He's had a phenomenal offense before, so I don't know why people are making that argument. And again, I just think having that defense, again, the number 1 defense last year, you're having another year with training camp. I think that this team's just going to be phenomenal. I think they're going to be the best team.
My take is the addition of Matt Stafford, like you said. It's going to push him over the edge. His offense was already as elite as it is. They add D-Jax, who puts another speedster out there.
As long as he stays healthy, he's going to be really
that trio is going to be insane. They had Tutu Atwell, who I think could be another guy to help them on the offensive side of the ball. I really like his game. As we all know, they lost Darrell Henderson and sadly Cam Akers, who I thought was going to have a big year.
Yeah. But they added Sony Michel.
They trade for Sony Michel. But the only shaky thing with this team on offense is another one, the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they could protect Matt Stafford as well as the other O-linemen in the division besides the Seattle Seahawks.
And again, let's not forget the Cardinals are having a phenomenal O-line either.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But then again, Matt Stafford being who he is, not a lot of attention. But he is also known for, like you said again, is extending the play. Mm-hmm. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I'm pretty sure there's not really much to say. You have 2 Defensive Player of the Year potential candidates this year, and Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. They get full capacity fans now in an amazing stadium, probably the best stadium in the NFL. It's gonna hurt Isaac Ramirez, but I do expect a big year for them.
And again, I think the only thing that could kind of hurt this team is early on you go through a rough patch with that offense, with Matthew Stafford being in the offense for the first year. But other than that, I don't really see them going through a rough patch except for that first month or so. So yeah, I think we're both in agreement. I think that the Rams are going to be a phenomenal team. But yeah, I'm glad that we're both in agreement. Good shit. All right, now moving on to the AFC West.
At number 4, the Denver Broncos. As y'all know, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of drama, especially with the fact that Teddy Bridgewater is now named the starter for Week 1 over Drew Lock. And I've been seeing a lot of stuff going around on Twitter. A lot of Twitter fans, Broncos fans, they're all upset at this decision.
Really?
But when you look at Teddy Bridgewater, because they want him to develop, I don't think they have the same play style, and I think that's why it kind of gets them mad that he's going to be the one mentoring him for the future. But I think he's still a winning quarterback. We all saw what he did with the Saints. Sure.
Okay, I also have the Broncos at number 4. And again, this isn't saying that they're going to be bad, but it's just this division is really stacked, and I have them at 4. And you have Chubb, who's coming back from an injury. You have Von Miller. Again, Von Miller is older now, but he's still a phenomenal edge rusher. He's still one of the best in the NFL.
His technique is insane still.
Yeah, so I think this defense is going to be the driving point for this team. And I wonder, okay, let's get into your thoughts about the quarterback situation. Who do you think should have been starting?
If I'm being honest, I wanted to see Drew Lock because every year I've been saying, as soon as I said this the past 2 years in a row, that this is his step forward.
Yeah.
But I don't know, watching him this year, I just feel like he wanted it more.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, every time he would score last year or the year before that, he'd always have some celebration.
Yeah.
You know, like shove it in their face. He's not really matured enough. Mm-hmm. But I feel like with Teddy Bridgewater taking over now, I feel like he can. Because Teddy Bridgewater isn't the one to show up.
Yeah, I get
He's just not going to talk. He's going to shut up and play.
I think going back and forth with these quarterbacks, I switched my decision a lot. Or not my decision, but, you know, who I think should be starting. You look at Drew Lock, I think he adds another element. He adds a superstar element. He adds the element of selling tickets. He's the fun quarterback, right? But again, Teddy Bridgewater, I don't think he's as talented as Drew Lock is. And the reason why I'm saying this is Drew Lock at times could turn the ball over, could have a horrible play, but then at times he looks phenomenal. He could have a great deep pass. He could have a really good plays. But I just think that he's too much of a risk, and that's not what the Broncos are going for. They're another team, just like the Niners, where they have a quarterback controversy, but they're still in a position to win games. They're still in a position to make the playoffs. It isn't like they're in a complete rebuild. And I think Teddy Bridgewater, having him start, he has offensive weapons everywhere. So I think his job is just to get them the ball. It's not really to make any spectacular plays, and I think that's what the Broncos want. You have Jerry Jeudy, who's coming back in his second year. He obviously had a problem with drops, but I still think that's a receiver that's still going to be very good. A lot of people are counting him out as one of the best in his class, but it's off of 1 year. He's still the best route runner, one of the best route runners in the NFL, and he's still very young. You get Cortland Sutton, who's coming back from an ACL tear. So I think you're going to have a bunch of a bunch of weapons that are going to be phenomenal for Teddy Bridgewater. And I think they made the right decision, at least in week 1.
Agree with that take. They also have a great wide receiving core that not a lot of people are talking about. So moving on to number 3. Oh man, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Hell yeah, little man. Hell yeah, bro.
You had them at 4.
I had him at 3.
I know damn well you said.
No, I had him at 3.
Okay.
So,
well, this team adds Kenyon Drake to the run game. Basically, they lost basically 4 of their starters on the offensive line, which I see as a huge problem in that division, considering the fact you mentioned the Denver Broncos, the Kansas City Chiefs revamped D-line, the Chargers D-line, who can get after the quarterback as well. But I don't think it will be a bad outcome. I expect a big year from Josh Jacobs again, and Bryan Edwards, who not a lot of people are talking about, but I think he has the potential to be the number 1 receiver. Yeah, I know Henry Ruggs is there, don't get me wrong, but this guy, his speed, his size, I feel like he'll be the number 1 receiver. And I think him and Derek Carr will build up that connection this year, and give him this year, it'll stir the pot a little bit, and then next year, I feel like that's when things will settle in for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay. So you think they're going to have a similar year to last year?
Similar year to last year, yeah. I just think it's really hard to win in that division right now.
I agree with your take about the offensive line. I think the offensive line situation, you fumbled really bad. And I think that it's going to affect your team in total. I think Derek Carr, he's not the most mobile quarterback, and I think that's definitely going to hurt him in some ways. I still think he's going to have a great year, along with Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, I think that's going to hurt him as well.
Yeah, that's going to hurt for a lot of people who got him in fantasy.
Anybody wants something, I'll trade. But again, let's not forget that this team lost 4 of the last 6 games in the season. You want to know what one of those wins were? Against the Jets, when they decided to blitz on a Hail Mary. So technically, they should have been 1.
You mean the worst defensive call in the history?
Yeah, they should have been 1-5 in the last 6 NFL games. So again, this team didn't leave on a high note. I think that Gruden, he's a really good head coach, but I just still think he's trying to find his footing, and it's just really hard in this division. When I think that the Chargers, who are going to be a phenomenal team, the Chiefs, who are still going to be on top, it's just going to be really hard for this team.
And I still think this team can give people problems on defense. You get Carl Joseph back, Yannick Ngakoue to put on the other side of Max Crosby.
Those were really good additions.
Yeah, to me, I thought they were. Maybe it puts them over the top, I don't know, because I think they can still compete with the Chiefs. Or anybody in this division.
Okay.
I mean, they've literally almost owned the Chargers almost every time they played.
I get you. But one thing that I want to see about the Raiders, and this is going to get Isaac pretty mad, but Jonathan Abrams, this man needs to start playing like a football player, and what I mean by that is he needs to start using his head. I think he's talented.
I think he's using his head too much.
Yeah, you could argue that. I think he's one of the most talented safeties. He's flying over the around the field. He's very passionate, but I think in times like as you saw against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, just being too hungry, looking at the quarterback and letting the game-winning touchdown go right by you. So I think that I think he's gonna have to have a good year, and he's gonna have to. This is gonna be a year for him to mature, and I think that he's gonna have a really good year.
Maybe add some more swag to him too, not wear his jersey like he's freaking Peyton Manning.
Jesus Christ, like he's Peyton Manning.
That pisses me off.
But one thing, if you look at the schedule, the last 5 games are against the Chiefs, Browns, Broncos, Colts, and Chargers. All those games are not automatic wins. They're all going to be very hard, and if you want to be in the playoffs, you're going to have to win your last 5 games, at least 2 out of the 3. So I think this is going to be a real test in the last portion of the season. But yeah, right now I have the Raiders at 3. So
good takes. At number 2, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. If I was willing to bet on a team to make a surprising run this year, I'd have them there.
I like how you stole my take. Good job.
I'd have them there. Herbert gets Corey Linsley, Rashawn Slater out of TCU to protect him at quarterback, and I believe he'll have another great year. Just considering all the fact that who he has at wide receiver, stacked, Jared Cook, great tight end, revamped O-line. Austin Eckler's going to come back healthy. I mean, I see that as a top 5 offense easy with Justin Herbert at quarterback. Yeah, people are going to scheme for him. I get that.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to do that when he has so many weapons and 2 good running backs. You still have Josh Kelly, who had a really good rookie year, and Austin Eckler, a power back and a speed back. Austin Eckler can really do anything. So I expect another big year. On the defensive side, which they're not getting a lot of talk on media, you have Asante Samuel Jr. out of FSU. You get Derwin James back, one of the top 10 safeties in the league. Top 10 safety.
Why'd you look at me? I agree, he's a top 10 safety.
Chris Harris Jr. coming back fully healthy, right? Kenneth Murray, who I really like as a linebacker. I think he has potential to be Defensive Player of the Year, but that doesn't come from me. I think the ceiling is very high for this team, and I have them maybe having a race with the Kansas City Chiefs at number 1. That's how high their potential is this year.
Did you play Week 16 Thursday Night Football? So I think that's going to be a huge game. And I don't think they're going to... I think they can finish like 2 games out.
You think that's going to be one of those like Redskins and Eagles games last year?
Washington
football team? It was like a division. Washington football
I get you.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those games where it's like a game you have to watch. You have to tune into. But again, like how you were saying with Rashawn Slater, you saw in college a few years ago. I understand it was in college, but he goes toe-to-toe with Chase Young. And guess who they play Week 1? So I think that's going to be a very good matchup to watch.
You know what? I'll give that one to Chase Young because I know damn well he sees everyone talking about Rashawn Slater locking him up.
Yeah, and again, but I'm just saying that's going to be interesting to watch. Rashawn Slater, it's his first NFL game, and he's going to have a really good test. I think Joey Bosa, who had a down year for sacks, he still had a good year, but just when it comes to the sacks department, having 7.5 sacks, he's going to look to bounce back and have another big year. Again, Derwin James, who has only played like 5 games in 2 years. Why are you laughing at that?
I don't know why you like to throw shade at him.
That's not throwing shade. It's the fact that he only played a few games. I still think he's a phenomenal talent. And again, a lot of people think he's overrated because he's ranked so high in terms of the safeties because he only played a few games, but he's still good. From what we've seen from the small sample size, he's still really
game changer.
Yeah, he's still really good. But I think with the new head coach, Brandon Staley, I think he's going to have to focus on 3 main points. My first point is fix special teams. The worst special team unit in the NFL.
That Patriots game.
Yeah, I was about to say that Patriots game having that freaking the punt return for a touchdown. You have the blocked field goal for a touchdown, and then another long punt return for like 60 yards. That's just one of the key indicators of
that was just one game.
Yeah, that's just one game that shows like a team just doesn't know how to win. They're not disciplined. And going on to my second point, you have to learn how to win and close out those close games. Too many games of you losing 1 possession. Last year, they lost 6 games of a 1 possession score game last year. It goes back years before with Phillip Rivers. A bunch of games. It seems like every Sunday at around 4 o'clock, there's always a game-winning drive going on with the Chargers.
There's the game plan they have, right? Mm-hmm. And then in parentheses, only way to lose. And that's the only way.
That's the only
thing they see. They read the whole game plan and it's that.
And they're like, yeah, I don't understand it with this team. But I do think if they fix that, they can still be a really good team. And as Little Man said, stealing my take, they are my dark horse for a division winner, a Super Bowl team. I still think this team is going to be really good. And I've been high on this team since last year, and it frustrated me seeing them lose so many close games.
You literally wanted a Justin Herbert jersey.
I still do. I want a Herbert jersey. Anyways, and I think your third main point is to maximize your star quarterback. he had a phenomenal year last year, 4,000 yards, 31 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And again, this is still him just being raw. It's just still him just going out winging it. Not winging it, but going out and just playing. You know, and I think that this year he's going to have a full training camp under his belt, having a preseason under his belt, and I still think that he's in the dark horse conversation for MVP. I think he's one of those players.
I agree on that. I like that.
Yeah, so I think this team is going to be very, very good.
So moving on to number 1, yet again, surprise, surprise, we have the same team.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to go ahead and give my first point, and we just bounce off each other
Okay.
like we did before. Number 1, they're the Kansas City Chiefs with an O-line. But I had to make more points to make this video somewhat interesting. You had Orlando Brown, Austin Blythe, Joe Thuney, and Kyle Long literally comes out of retirement because he knows what this team can do, what Andy Reid has in store.
Yeah.
And once again, the AFC is going to run through them. You add Jerick McKinnon also to the backfield with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I think this is another team where it's just, you literally have to look at them and say, can I beat them? This is a team you have to game plan for at least a month. For at least a month, you have to think about them.
You have to start game planning now if you play them later on this
defenses literally have. I'm pretty sure they have a way to stop them locked somewhere in like a safe in that facility somewhere, and then they take it out whenever they play the Chiefs. Because I mean, can you really stop them? The only thing that stopped them last year was the hurt offensive tackles.
I think
That's a different game if they're not hurt.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not saying that the Chiefs win that game, but I think that is a totally different game. You have to understand that the tackles are one of the most important players on the field.
I think it's the center and then the tackle.
Yeah, but when you lose both of your veteran tackles, that's insane to me. So, yeah, I think that definitely hurt them, and they obviously knew that was their weakness in their offense. And I think they went out and addressed it, and they did a phenomenal job addressing it. But what worried me a bit was at first when they first released Eric Fisher and who's out there?
Mitchell Schwartz.
Yeah, when they released both of them, I was like, what moves are they going to make? Little did I know they were going to totally revamp that offensive line. And I think one thing that happened last year in that Super Bowl was that the blueprint was formed. The blueprint to beat the Kansas City Chiefs was formed, and every other team in the NFL had to just run with it and watch that film. Again, triple teaming Tyreek Hill, it was the most impressive thing I've ever seen in my life. Having the DBs just run straight back, taking away Tyreek Hill. And again, Travis Kelce wasn't really a factor because Mahomes was running for his life the whole time. So I think the Buccaneers did a phenomenal job of stopping them, and I still think that even though they revamped their offensive line, I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for them. They're still going to have to, do some game planning. Andy Reid's still going to have to bounce back from game plan with Tyreek Hill.
I think everybody in the division can give him a tough game.
That's true. Go ahead with your point.
Oh yeah, the defense is still mediocre, in my opinion. But I feel like a big signing. But this guy was making fun of me before we started. Was Jaron Reed from Seattle.
I wasn't making fun of you.
I think he's a good run stopper. I think he rushes the passer really well, and I think he's a great sidekick to put next to Chris Jones.
Yeah, I think they added depth and they added help. But you were just saying it like it was the biggest move of all time. That's all I was laughing.
See, now you're over exaggerating.
I'm just saying. But yeah, again, when you look at this team in the big picture in the entire NFL, the AFC runs through them, and they're the second team for me in the NFL. The only reason why is because Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been solid. They re-signed all their players, and they have Tom Brady on that team. But I think the Chiefs are a close second. And again, a lot of people are picking them for their favorites more than the Buccaneers. There's a lot of polls and stuff like that. Chiefs are winning by about 5%. So a lot of people still believe in the Chiefs. A lot of people are trying to say that the dynasty's done, pump the brakes on the dynasty. I think one speed bump isn't going to stop this dynasty. I still think it's still in the plans. Yeah.
As long as Andy Reid breathes there, I think the Chiefs are going to be
What are you watching?
I'm looking at you.
Oh.
Alright, well that does it for the AFC and NFC West predictions.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. We have 2 more videos coming out before the NFL season starts, and we're going to start our polls again. And just make sure that you guys share our videos.
These ones are going to be good.
Yeah.
Can we tell them what it is?
No. Not at all.
Alright.
And I just want to thank you guys for all watching. Thank you guys for sharing. Thank you guys for just supporting us. Again, this is something that we want to make into a dream, into a reality. It's something that we want to make our professions.
Into a job.
Our professions. So, thank you guys again.
And please disregard the fit. I just got.
This is how he dresses every day.